Hey Simmers, I'm back with the final speed build of this month's spooky builds. This one is a Victorian inspired manor. I call it, what did I call it again? I should have wrote the name. I believe I called it Ravenclaw Manor or something along those lines. But the idea was that it's an old Victorian manor. It's in Forgotten Hollow. I figure it's was built by people who founded Forgotten Hollow, one of the founding families. It ends up being the rooms end up being quite big. I was using a blueprint for an idea to get the Victorian kind of build. There are certain changes that I do make to it just so it fits the way I wanted it. There's certain rooms that get used for different purposes, such as one of the um, rooms are supposed to be a closet, but I turned it into a bathroom. Um, I did a bit of playing around with this because I wanted it to be a tower-like and have some really neat kind of options for the roofs and all that. Eventually, I realized one of the mistakes when I was following the blueprints, trying to get this roof covering done right. As you can see, it's pretty. Used a lot of white on the outside. Even the sidings will be white. And that's where I realized that I'd forgotten to add this balcony area. I had to add that stretch out to the back because that was part of the kitchen layout. I used columns from vampires, and the idea for this is, like I said, it's one of the founding families from who founded Forgotten Hollow. The family is from an older time period. A lot of the graves that are around it, this is usually the annoying vampire, what's his name, Vlad's property. But I decided, yeah, Vlad's not here, so all the tombstones around it are like tombstones of family members who've passed in history. And the storyline that I had is that this family, they are getting together to celebrate the engagement of their son, and tragedy strikes. In the sitting room, the fire a fire catches and all of them burn to death, including the live-in maid. So there was a total of 5 sims that I had to create to make ghosts. Just because I didn't want to log out and log back in, for some reason the um, gameplay didn't want to go into full autonomy for me when I switched over. Here's me just putting these lights in for now. Everything gets replaced with candlelight. I figure it's an old Victorian manor. Um, Another one of those spots that's supposed to be a bathroom, that little tiny one area. I just decided no, and I just made it an empty space. Uh, Everything is times 8, just so I could fit everything in for speed for the video. Um, the first room I started in, according to the blueprints, one room's a living room, one was a sitting room, there's a dining room, a kitchen, and then there was supposed to be a bunch of bedrooms and one bath upstairs. I changed it so that there's 2 bathrooms upstairs. I went through and used a lot of the worn out wallpaper from City Living just to make it look like it's aged. The only thing is there's no really aged wooden floor that I liked. So I used dirty rugs and all that. The first room I start with, once we start into that, this was done over about 2 days. Yeah, me just kind of looking at it all over. Because I wanted to make sure the chimney had a thing. So we started in the sitting room, and I decided the sitting room because this is where they'd greet their guests before they'd go to dinner and stuff like that. It has a piano in it. Eventually, the piano ends up in this corner, and I went with a bit of a black and white scheme, but in the end, almost everything in this room is burnt. I came in with my spellcaster who knew the fire spell and just kind of lit everything on fire. The rug actually ends up being turned to dust because of me lighting everything on fire. Uh, and a few other spots. I burned something else in the dining room area as well, just to make it look like the fire kind of spread that way too. I used the curtains from the spooky pack just because they look old and torn up. I try to figure out how I want to do this. I wanted the bar to be in there, make it kind of look like the staff. They would have like the maid would be uh, putting out the table, and then she'd be doing stuff like bringing over drinks and stuff like that. I wanted china cabinet in here, make it look like this is where they have the china cabinet. I found a bigger one. I did use two there. I want the table in the middle of the room. But yeah, the idea was that this place hasn't been used since that time, since the family kind of passed away. Here's where I found the better china hutch. I kind of reduced it down in size just so it fit into the room. Uh, and what else? Yeah, here's where I'm kind of replacing all the lighting, which ends up I turn the light down. This is a pantry. Uh, this is when I was kind of coming up with the kitchen. I decided just to not make that downstairs bathroom because it made it there so there's too many doors in that kitchen area. So here's me kind of placing lights throughout the place just so I didn't have to worry about it later. I do jump around. I start kind of coming up with ideas. Eventually, I start looking at what comes up for certain types of builds, and that's what I start to just use for the furniture, just so I didn't have to overly worry. Uh, just because there's fireplaces, I wanted to make sure they had wood. That's the living room. Then there's the upstairs bedrooms. One would be the guest room. One is the master bedroom with a dressing area off to the side. The other one's the son's room, and then the smallest is the maid's. I chose to have blind, all the shutters closed, all that. I did put this up there. It doesn't necessarily fit with the rest of the build, but I want something on the mantle. Uh, Here's where I'm kind of deciding to stick candles out. I figured the piano would have a candelabra on it. I wish there was a one of those that bent so I could have actually had the runner go through. Trying to find beat up rugs and stuff like that. Here's where I start to pick out the furniture based on types. So I end up making this very much have green furniture in it. Certain items I did use over again, such as the bookcases and end tables and all that. I used them all throughout the house because I figured it fit the theme I was going for better. There's our lovely photo of Vlad. I figured that they are a wealthy family, so yeah, they have a suit of armor. I figure that that coat of arms on the wall used to be the family's coat of arms. Uh, I'll start pulling out items and just sticking them around the house as I find them. Because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to build. I took out one window from what the blueprint was, just so I could make the bedroom feel thing. This is the dressing room. I go with the vanity from Vintage Glam, so that so it looks like the mother, the matriarch of the family had her own private little dressing room area. Here's where I kind of jump around again, trying to think of stuff to stick into this room. I know the bed does not match the rest of it. I figured they'd have um, something to do. Like there's no television on the lot and that, so they have this chess table in that room. I figured the son would have tons of books. Like he was very much into reading all that. Here's where me just kind of grabbing items and throwing them all over the place. I do change that light out for a candelabra. Uh, Coming up with just the idea that there's this room, trying to make sure stuff that I don't think I did. No, there's no toilet paper in this build either. But it was fun. The idea was it was a haunted house. I've been watching a lot of stuff on YouTube for like haunted houses, haunted places in various parts of America and all that. So I just kind of used the idea of this old Victorian house, the kind you typically think of when you think haunted buildings. So that's what came the basis of all this. The thing that I went through and did last was all the decals on the walls, all the damage to the walls, all the cracks and all that. That was done pretty much at the end. I gave the maid a desk. I found these other urns instead of those huge ones. Here's me just kind of jumping around, picking out stuff. I figured they've been around long enough. Uh, what are they? The precursor to like the modern speaker things. Use the right shelf to get these items up onto where I wanted them. Move around. But yeah, this was pretty fun. As you can see, there's a bit of darkness to this. Because I set the bookcase on fire, the ship does not survive. It turns into a pile of dust. I cut out me like setting everything on fire, so you only when you see the build tree, you only get the end result. Uh, but using the styles that were available, I kind of got photos and paintings and stuff that kind of more fit with what I wanted. I forgot how long this thing is. It's just over 20 minutes. Uh, I do a few layers of the water splotches. Here's me finally just starting to add in all the damage and all that to the place, make it look like it's kind of falling in disrepair. Um, I do also add a bunch of debug wood and all that to lay on the floor. I really wish there was ways of like having furniture sit over like holes in the roof and stuff like that, so that we could actually make it look more disheveled and ran down. Originally, I had thought of having maybe some of the walls be broken, but because the half walls always have those rails at the top, I didn't want that in the build. So I just decided to go with just a bunch of damage everywhere. As you can see, I try to overlay some of the cracking so it looks like it's just kind of spreading as I move my hands away from each other, like you can see what I'm doing. For the outside, I used a lot of the vampire environmental trees and plants because they were dead. So again, it makes it look like the place is falling into disrepair and that the family died ages ago and no one's really lived here. Uh, I'm so glad I silenced this because oh my god, the amount of clicking you would have been hearing to get all that stuff onto the onto the sides of buildings. All these dead plants, just kind of used as kind of a fill-in type situation. And here's where I start looking for items that are in the debug menu. I was actually mainly looking for wood. I figured there's been some vandalism. There's that light pole's been knocked over. I figured they had an old fence that's kind of fallen apart in the back. Here's where I'm scrolling trying to find the wood that I was looking for, and as you can see, I just kind of the thing with this, because it's debug items, Sims can pass through them. And here we are into the actual build tour. There'll be a point where we kind of jump into regular view and then back. There's a dead plant out up front. And yes, it's thunder and lightning, just like every other build that this month has pretty much had. Just because I thought I wasn't too sure if we were on fast forward or just on normal. So yeah, you get that little screenshot up there. But here we go in. As you can see, there's no lights on the outside. I didn't, and I dimmed all the candle lighting, so it's not even as bright as what most of it is. The lovely panes that change appearance, which even with the dimming the lighting makes the house look so much more like it's been forgotten and just kind of wasting away. And this is where the ghost should have been moving around haunting stuff, and that was what I was hoping. And here's where you can see, like, I burnt nearly everything in this room. And then you come into this room and you can see that the table over here and some of the wall stuff got just burnt and turned into dust. The only thing about with the shuttered windows is you can't see the lightning outside. And because I turned the sound off, you can't hear the thunder either, so. You can see it through the door though, and then out here is like the back porch, and we go out. I'm like, what is that? And I realize it's a plasma tree. Led out onto the back porch. This leads out to the side. This is probably where the way the maid used to get in and out of the building when she had to go do like the shopping and stuff for the family. Once we get upstairs, that's where most of the ghosts are. The broken wood on the floor. I just did it on the first floor. I kind of wish I'd done it in a few more other spots. And for some reason it did that. I should have edited that out of the video, but eh. And we get up to the top here and we run into our first ghost. This is a ghost of the maid. This is the guest room. This is where the fiance was staying. This is the room she would have been in. Because proper of that time is men and women would be sharing the same room. She burned to death. Here's the fiance. Yes, I know the hair kind of looks a bit more on the modern, and she's sad. She's sad because so many people died. That's why she's blue, and that's why there's steam coming off of her. We come over this way into the maid's room. Yes, the chair does not line up with the desk, so it wouldn't be, the desk isn't usable, but that's fine. We come in here. This is the son. He was fire resistant. I ended up having to have him starve to death. I had him in a 1-by-1 room, and I was casting uh, the Infernate spell underneath it, and he would not catch on fire. I think I had like an hour of video that I cut out of him not catching on fire. Here's the parents who are also sad, and for some reason, even when I came back in, when I filmed my Monday's video, I came back into for some reason, these two loved the bathroom. Here's the son's room. As you can see, books are all over the place. Dark. I just realized the bed and the thing at the end of the bed don't match. Oh, so this ends October's scary builds. Monday I have another build tour that'll be up and ready for you guys on Monday. So until next time, leave a like, leave a comment, and until then, Susu.